What's up, wonderful people, and welcome to my channel. If you like spicy, unpopular K-pop opinions and juicy confessions, well, you've stumbled across the right channel. In today's video, I'm going to respond to some unpopular K-pop opinions I found on Reddit. So how this is going to work is I'll have the robot voice read the post and some comments, and I'll respond with my real voice. I despise fandom names.
Even if the name is kind of badass, Army, Cheshire, Cassiopeia, etc. I just think that it's very cringy to call yourself by a fandom name. This honestly goes for any kind of entertainment. Beehive, Arianators, those Tumblr people who called it the Super Holokians, etc. But it's a or expected tradition in K-pop. Even if I am part of the fandom, I would never be caught dead calling myself anything other than a fan of X group. The only fandom name I despise is Diar's fandom name. Imagine saying, hey, I'm an aide. I love calling myself a mamamoo. It sounds adorable. Mamamoo is a word for vagina in German.
Okay, so I was going to disagree with this, but after seeing some of these fandom names, I might have to reconsider. Please don't go around calling yourself an aide.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that? What is that?
Please don't go around calling yourself an aide. That's just sad. Like, don't do that. As for the mamamoo one, I actually used to think it was clever because moo is Korean for radish, and mamamoo's light stick is actually a radish. People don't understand what it is, so they're always like, this light stick is so ugly, but it's literally so clever. Like, I think it's honestly hilariously clever. Props to them. But now moo moo has a new meaning to me. Don't you ever just wish you could unlearn things? Anyways, although I personally wouldn't refer to myself using a fandom name, I think they are a really smart marketing tactic. It makes people feel like they're part of a cult, community, and nurtures a bond between the idols and their fandom and between members of the same fandom, if that makes sense. But this might also be the reason why we see so many fan wars, like there's an invisible need to assert superiority or dominance. I guess that's prevalent in all parts of society, unfortunately. At the end of the day, we're all lovers of K-pop, and I think that in itself should foster a sense of unity, but that's not always the case. Hopefully in the future that'll change though. Like this video if you want to put an end to fan wars. Sour Candy is the greatest Blackpink song.
Maybe it's just the Gaga fan in me, but I love Sour Candy and how weird it was. I didn't know it was possible to fall in love with Rosé's voice even more than I already do, but she totally served in this song. I didn't say it in the title, but Sour Candy has a very close competition with Kick It because that still remains as the best Blackpink song in my opinion. Special mention to Playing with Fire and As If It's Your Last Two. I hope this year their album has something to dethrone Sour Candy and Kick It, although I decently enjoyed How You Like That as well. I enjoyed Sour Candy a lot, but it was missing something for me. It just left me feeling like, it just needs a bit more something to be great. But for me, I think I like PWF or Whistle best. However, TBH, I haven't had a BP song that I totally love yet. They all seem to lack that extra oomph factor that would make me fall in love with it. I didn't care for it, and I like their earlier releases, but with the latest comeback being super predictable to me, I will say that in retrospect, at least Sour Candy was different than a lot of their other releases. I'd really like YG to push things and really do something risky for the girls for their next track.
I definitely have to disagree with that opinion. To each their own when it comes to music preferences, but I personally thought Sour Candy was way too short for me to get into. I remember the first time I heard it, I was enjoying the song, and I was just getting into it, and then it just stopped. I was like, what? It's over? And it's such a shame because the vocals in Sour Candy are slept on. Slept on. The lyrics are cheeky and sultry like ice cream, but it's sung with a lot more breath, which added to the vibe of the overall song. And I was all for it, especially Rosé and Jisoo's parts, like, oh my goodness. Chef's kiss. Chef's kisses. Oh my goodness. It was so good. I would have to say that my favorite Blackpink songs right now, It varies depending on what I'm going through. Is you never know, and in that same breath, pretty savage. Jenny's purr lives in my head rent-free. Like this video if you agree. Being popular in Korea is greater than being popular internationally.
With the expansion of K-pop in the West, companies are pushing groups to the Western markets. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with having an international fanbase, but there are certain artists that have a huge international fanbase while they're doing poor on Korean charts. While there are groups like Mamamoo that have a huge fanbase in Korea and are doing well on Korean charts but do not have a huge international fanbase. Why y'all say this is popular when people love to say stuff like but they aren't popular internationally or they have no views and stuff like that all the time. Maybe popular here, but this is definitely quite unpopular, especially with some fandoms. Totally agree.
I kind of agree with this, but I kind of don't. Here's why. I agree that as a Korean artist, it would be nice to be popular in your native country, but the Korean market is super saturated, with tons of groups debuting each year on top of groups that already exist. That's a buttload of competition if you ask me, and it's super difficult to break through, especially if you're not from the big three. I'm not saying it's impossible, take BTS as an example, but they're an outlier and not the norm. So I personally think it's an extremely smart business move to start expanding into other markets, but companies should do it with caution. They have a couple things to consider. For example, do they even have enough funds to promote outside of Korea? But if they take that risk and they're successful, congrats, you've made it. But what do you do after your contract ends? If you want to stay in entertainment, say like as an actor, model, or an MC, editing me here came to pop by and I just wanted to say, remember when Sana was MC on the Nipsey project? Yeah, I know. I mean, of course you remember. Why am I even asking? I think this is where popularity in Korea is really important. You're more likely to make it if the Korean public already has an established relationship with you. And lastly, I think OP's statement was too general. I think it varies from idol to idol, especially the foreign idols. Like in the case of Twice, I think it'd be extremely beneficial for J-Line to be popular in Japan, which they already are thanks to JYP's marketing. So that if after Twice, if J-Line decides to move back to Japan, the public there already know and love them. What are your thoughts on the unpopular opinions today? Leave them down below in the comments, and if you have any unpopular opinions of your own, I'd love to hear them, because I'm sure we all have unpopular opinions. And yeah, hopefully they'll be featured in a future video or something like that. Take care, and remember, always wash your hands!